My phone buzzed on the nightstand, a harsh, insistent rattle against the wood. I fumbled for it, my vision blurry from the pain meds, the world tilting on its axis. The screen glowed with my mother's name, a sight that usually brought a flicker of warmth. Now, it felt like a warning. I swiped to answer, my voice a ragged whisper. "Hello. Liam, sweetie, listen." Her voice was a breezy, distracted chirp, the same tone she used when she was multitasking, probably scrolling through real estate listings or her Instagram feed. "I'm running a tiny bit behind. My tea time is at 10, and you know how the club gets if you're late. It's non-refundable, $150 down the drain. I'll be there by 1:30 at the absolute latest. Just hang tight, okay?" A cold dread, sharper than the pain in my abdomen, began to spread through my chest. "Mom," I croaked, pressing a hand against the fiery ache low on my right side. "The doctor said," he said, "to come back to the ER immediately. He thinks it's my appendix. He said not to wait." "Oh, doctors are so dramatic," she trilled. I could hear the clinking of glasses in the background. She was probably having her pre-golf mimosa. "It's probably just gas, Liam. You always had a sensitive stomach. Remember that time at the county fair with the corn dogs? Just try to relax. I paid good money for this tea time, and Susan and Brenda are counting on me. I can't just leave them in the lurch." "Mom, I'm serious." My breath hitched as a fresh wave of pain, hot and searing, ripped through me. I curled into a ball on the cheap IKEA rug, the rough fibers scratching my cheek. "I can't drive. I can't even stand up straight. Please. Liam, don't be so ungrateful. I've spent my entire life dropping everything for you. One little golf game, that's all I'm asking for. A few hours for myself. Is that too much to ask?" Her voice had taken on that wounded, martyred quality I knew so well. The "after all I've done for you" tone. "I'll be there as soon as I'm done. Text me if it gets worse." The line went dead. I lay there on the floor, the silence of my small apartment pressing in on me, suffocating and heavy. Ungrateful. The word echoed in the hollow space she'd left behind. I stared at the water stain on my ceiling, the one my landlord kept promising to fix, and felt tears of pain and self-pity welling in my eyes. This wasn't about golf. This was about the inheritance. 2 weeks ago, my grandfather, her father, had passed away. Papa Joe. The only stable, unconditionally loving presence in my entire life. He was the one who taught me how to throw a spiral, who helped me build a treehouse, who slipped me $20 bills when my mom was between husbands and money was tight. He'd always been clear, crystal clear, that his estate, the house and the modest savings, was to be split evenly between me and my mother. "To give you a start, Liam," he'd said, his gnarled hand patting mine. "So you don't have to struggle like your mother always chooses to." The will reading was in 2 days. And my mother, in the flurry of paperwork and lawyer meetings that followed his death, had discovered a loophole. A big one. Because she was the executor, and because Papa Joe, in his old-fashioned way, had left the assets in a way that gave the executor immense discretionary power, she had found a way to claim the entire inheritance for herself. For administrative costs and outstanding debts, she'd told me, not meeting my eyes. "It's all perfectly legal, Liam. You'll understand when you're older. The world isn't as simple as you think." I'd been too grief-stricken, too shocked, to fight back. Now, writhing on the floor, the physical pain and this fresh betrayal twisted together into a single, unbearable knot. She was playing golf. She was sipping mimosas with her friends while her only child was possibly dying on a rug, and she'd just stolen my future. Another hour passed. Or maybe it was 2. Time had become a syrupy, agonizing blur. The pain was no longer a wave, it was a constant, white-hot presence, a knife twisting deep inside my gut. I was drenched in a cold sweat, shivering violently. I knew, with a terrifying certainty, that I was in real trouble. I crawled, inch by agonizing inch, to my phone, which had fallen under the bed. My vision spotting with black dots, I managed to dial 911. The next few hours were a fragmented nightmare. Paramedics, their faces grim and efficient. The bumpy ride in the ambulance. The blinding lights of the ER. A doctor, his voice calm but urgent, saying words like perforated and sepsis. Then, the blessed oblivion of anesthesia. I woke up in a hospital room, the beeping of a monitor a steady, reassuring rhythm. A different doctor was there, a woman with kind eyes and a tired smile. "You're a very lucky young man," she said. "Another hour or two, and we'd be having a very different conversation. Your appendix ruptured. We got it out, and we've got you on some powerful antibiotics to fight the infection. You're going to be okay." The door to my room swung open and my mother breezed in, her golf visor still perched on her perfectly highlighted hair, a large iced coffee in one hand. "Liam? There you are. Goodness, what a drama. I told you it was probably just a bug." She set the coffee down on the bedside table and began fussing with my blankets, not looking at me, not really seeing me. "The nurse out there said you had to have emergency surgery. Honestly, the way they exaggerate." I just stared at her, my mouth dry, my body feeling heavy and foreign. The doctor exchanged a look with me, a flicker of understanding in her eyes, before she quietly left the room. "See? You're fine," my mother declared, finally meeting my gaze. Her smile was wide and utterly false. "Now, I have to run. The lawyer called. We need to finalize some paperwork for your grandfather's estate this afternoon. It's dreadfully boring, all this legal jargon. But don't you worry about a thing." I found my voice, though it was rough and weak. "The inheritance." Her smile tightened at the corners. "Now, Liam, we've been over this. It's complicated. You're young. You don't understand how these things work. I need that money to secure my future. You have your whole life ahead of you to earn your own." "Papa Joe wanted me to have half," I whispered, the betrayal a fresh wound, deeper than the one in my abdomen. "He told me. He wanted to help me." "And he's helping you," she said, her voice taking on that sharp, lecturing tone. "By providing for his daughter. That's what he would have wanted. For me to be stable and happy. And you, lying here, causing all this fuss because you couldn't wait a few hours for your mother to have one morning to herself. It's truly ungrateful, Liam. After everything I sacrificed for you. The ballet lessons I gave up, the promotions I didn't take because I had to be home for you." She was rewriting history right there in the sterile hospital room, painting herself as the long-suffering saint and me as the selfish, burdensome child. The narrative was more important to her than the truth. It always had been. "You chose a tea time over my life," I said, the words hanging in the air between us, stark and undeniable. She waved a dismissive hand, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the light. "Don't be so melodramatic. You're fine. You're always so dramatic. Just like your father." She picked up her purse, a sleek, expensive leather thing she'd bought just last week. "I'll call you later. The lawyer is waiting. Get some rest." And with that, she was gone. The scent of her perfume, something floral and expensive, lingered in the air, a nauseating reminder of her presence. I lay there, staring at the door she'd just walked through, and felt something inside me, something that had been fraying for years, finally snap. It wasn't just anger. It was a cold, clear, and absolute severance. A nurse came in to check my vitals. She was older, with a warm, motherly demeanor that made my throat tighten. "Everything okay, sweetheart?" she asked gently, noticing my expression. My mother, I managed to say. She had a golf game. The nurse's face softened with a deep, knowing pity. I see, she said, and those two words held more understanding than my mother had shown my entire life. She patted my hand. You focus on getting better. That's your only job right now. I was released from the hospital 3 days later, weak and moving carefully, a bottle of painkillers in my hand. My friend Mark picked me up and drove me back to my apartment, which felt like a tomb. The silence was a physical weight. I spent the next week in a haze of pain medication and bitter thoughts, replaying every manipulation, every guilt trip, every time she'd prioritized her image over my well-being. I was weak, physically and emotionally. I knew I should be fighting her, calling a lawyer of my own, contesting the will. But the energy required felt Herculean. I was just so tired. So I did the weak, pathetic thing. I scrolled. I opened Instagram, the curated highlight reel of her life. There she was. Picture after picture. A selfie with her friends Susan and Brenda on the golf course that day, all of them holding up glasses of champagne, the caption, nothing like a little 19th hole therapy. #besties, #living my best life, #golf life. My stomach churned. That was posted at 12:45 p.m. Right around the time I was being prepped for emergency surgery. I kept scrolling, a masochistic impulse driving me forward. And then I saw it. The post from yesterday. It was a carousel of photos. The first was a picture of the inheritance, Papa Joe's beautiful, classic 1965 Ford Mustang convertible, gleaming in the sun. The next was a shot of the interior. The next was a photo of my mother, oversized sunglasses perched on her head, leaning against the car with a wide, triumphant smile. But it was the caption that stole the air from my lungs. Some dreams do come true. So incredibly blessed and grateful to my darling father for leaving me his most prized possession. He always knew how much I loved this car. It's not just a car, it's a symbol of his love and his belief in me. Can't wait to make new memories in it. #blessed, #inheritance, #daddy's girl, #grateful, #classic car, #dream car. I read it once. Then again. Then a third time, my heart hammering against my ribs, a hot, violent rage flooding my system, burning away the last of the painkillers and self-pity. He always knew how much I loved this car. It was a lie. A bold, breathtaking, pathological lie. My mother hated that car. She called it a gas-guzzling death trap. She'd begged Papa Joe for years to sell it, to get something safer and more sensible. She'd refused to even ride in it. I was the one who loved that car. I was the one who spent countless weekends in the garage with Papa Joe, handing him wrenches, learning the name of every part, listening to his stories about the road trips he and Grandma had taken in it. I was the one he'd promised it to. It's yours, Liam, he'd told me, his voice firm, the last time I saw him. We were standing right there in the garage. It's all written down. For you. Don't let your mother talk you out of it. She hadn't just stolen the inheritance. She had stolen his final wish. She had stolen a sacred promise between a grandfather and his grandson. And now she was parading it on social media, spinning her web of lies for her hundreds of followers, painting herself as the cherished daughter, basking in the congratulatory comments. So deserved. He's smiling down on you. What a beautiful tribute. The injustice of it was a physical force. I couldn't breathe. I saw red. The careful, fragile dam of civility I had maintained my entire life finally, completely, shattered. I didn't call her. I didn't text her. I didn't scream. A cold, calculated calm settled over me. She cared about one thing, and one thing only, her image. Her perfectly constructed, flawless, Instagram-ready life. And I was going to burn it to the ground. It took me another week to gather my strength. I went for a walk every day, a little farther each time, building my stamina. I stopped taking the painkillers. I needed a clear head. I called Papa Joe's lawyer, a kind, older man named Mr. Henderson, who had been visibly uncomfortable during the initial will reading. I asked him, very directly, if there was a copy of the most recent will, the one Papa Joe had told me about, the one that specifically bequeathed the car to me. Mr. Henderson was quiet for a long moment. "Liam," he said, his voice heavy. "There was a later will. Your grandfather brought it to me about 6 months before he passed. It was very specific about the asset distribution, including the vehicle." "And?" I prompted, my hand gripping the phone so tightly I thought the plastic might crack. "And your mother, as the executor of the previous will, contested it. She claimed your grandfather was not of sound mind when he drafted it. That you had unduly influenced him. The audacity of it took my breath away." "That's not true," I whispered, the words thick with emotion. "I know it's not, son," Mr. Henderson said gently. "I knew your grandfather for 40 years. He was sharp as a tack until the very end. But without a protracted and expensive legal battle, and given that she had the power as executor of the previous, valid will, she was able to push it through. I am so sorry, Liam. I should have fought harder for him. For you. Do you have a copy of that later will?" I asked, my voice now steady. "The one that leaves me the car?" "I do," he said. "I have it right here in my files. Can you email me a scanned copy?" "Right now." He agreed without hesitation. 10 minutes later, the PDF was in my inbox. It was all there, in black and white. Papa Joe's signature, shaky but legible. A clause that read, "I hereby give, devise, and bequeath my 1965 Ford Mustang convertible, VIN redacted, to my grandson, Liam Michael Sorensen, as I have promised him since he was a boy." I had the weapon. Now, I needed the perfect moment to fire it. That moment came on a Saturday. My mother was hosting her annual summer soiree at her house, Papa Joe's house, the one she'd also claimed. It was her biggest social event of the year, a chance to show off her home, her wealth, her perfect life. I knew she would be posting about it relentlessly. The decorations, the catered food, the guests. And, of course, the centerpiece, the Mustang, which I knew she would have parked prominently in the driveway for all to admire. I waited. I watched the sun begin to set from my apartment window. I imagined the string lights twinkling in her backyard, the sound of clinking glasses and fake laughter. I pictured her, holding court, the gracious, grieving daughter, the successful, blessed woman. Then, I opened Instagram. Her feed was, as predicted, a live broadcast of the party. A picture of the cheese board. A boomerang of people laughing. A shot of the backyard, lit up beautifully. And then, the pièce de résistance, a new photo of her, flanked by her 2 best friends, sitting on the lip of the Mustang's driver's side door, holding a glass of champagne. The caption, "My father's spirit is here with us tonight. So much love and laughter in the home he built. This car was his pride and joy, and now it's mine. Feeling the love. Hashtag family, hashtag legacy, hashtag dad's pride and joy, hashtag summer soiree, hashtag blessed." The comments were a waterfall of adoration. "You are amazing. He'd be so proud. What a wonderful daughter you are." It was time. My fingers were ice cold and perfectly steady. I went to her post. I took a screenshot of the most recent will, the one Mr. Henderson had sent me. I opened the comment box on her beautiful, lying, triumphant post. I didn't write a long, emotional rant. I didn't call her names. I went for surgical, brutal precision. I uploaded the screenshot of the will. And beneath it, I wrote a single, simple comment. I tagged her, and I tagged her two best friends, Susan and Brenda, who were in the photo with her. I made sure everyone would see it. At a mother's name, it's interesting that Papa Joe's pride and joy was left specifically to me in his final, updated will. The one you contested by claiming the man who built this house and loved this car was not of sound mind. I'm glad you're feeling the love from the father you disrespected to steal from your son. I hope that non-refundable tea time was worth almost costing me my life. Enjoy the party. I put my phone face down on the table. I didn't need to refresh the page. I didn't need to see the reactions. I knew what was happening. I could feel it, a seismic shift in the universe. The likes on her post would freeze. The congratulatory comments would stop. Then, the questions would start. The private messages. The shocked texts. Her perfect, beautiful, glasshouse world was exploding into a million jagged pieces. My phone began to vibrate. Once. Twice. Then it didn't stop. Text messages flooded in from cousins, from family friends I hadn't heard from in years. Liam, is this true? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I always knew there was something off about her story. I ignored them all. About 20 minutes later, my phone lit up with an incoming call. It was her. I let it ring. It went to voicemail. She called again. And again. On the fifth call, I picked up. I didn't say a word. The sound on the other end was pure, unadulterated chaos. I could hear people murmuring in the background, the party atmosphere utterly evaporated. And I could hear her voice a ragged, hysterical shriek, stripped of all its breezy, polished artifice. "What have you done?" she screamed. "You little monster. You've ruined everything. My party. My reputation. Everything I've worked for." I waited for her to pause for breath. When I spoke, my voice was quiet, flat, and final. "No, Mom. You ruined it. You did that all by yourself. All I did was show everyone the truth you've been hiding. I am your mother," she wailed, the ultimate weapon in her arsenal. "You can't do this to me. You stopped being my mother when you chose a tea time over my emergency surgery," I said, the words clean and sharp, like a scalpel. "And you sealed it when you stole from me and lied about my grandfather. Don't ever contact me again." I ended the call. I blocked her number. I sat in the quiet of my apartment, the ghost of Papa Joe's love a solid, real presence in the room. The inheritance was gone. The car was gone. But for the first time in my life, I was free. The cord wasn't just cut, it was incinerated. And in its ashes, I finally felt peace.